so much for joining me. If you haven't been here before, my name is Tracy and this is a DIY upcycling channel. And today I want to make a pair of pants that look like blue jeans, and I want them to be fitted with a double flare at the bottom and some decorative stitching. I will be using all white materials. I have a pair of white skinny jeans, and I have a damask white vintage tablecloth, and a bed sheet would work too. So I could have used denim, blue jeans, skinny jeans, and lots of denim for the flares, but where do you find all that denim? It's pretty tough. Plus, a double denim flare might be kind of stiff, might be kind of heavy. So I'm going to give this a shot and dye it with denim blue Rit dye. And did I say do some decorative stitching? Okay, you want to talk about the thrifted outfit of the day real quick. So I bought a pretty simple lace dress at the thrift store, and it's a Worthington, so nice quality. It's sleeveless, and it only came to here. So what I did was took a sheer sort of tulle skirt, and I cut some of that tulle off, and I sewed it to the slip underneath of this to give it more of an edgy look and make it longer. And then I made sort of this shrug topper, and all this was just a woman's button-up blouse, and I cropped it, and I cropped the sleeves to here. I added a little lace at the bottom, a little lace at the sleeves. I have a little brooch. I added another little ruffle here from a bed sheet, a big ruffle here from a curtain, and a wedding dress ruffle on top of that on both sleeves. And I have a whole thrifted look. I'm wearing some sort of platform boots because I thought this had kind of a steampunk look. I have a little flower in my hair, and I cut that from this thrifted old purse, and I took a long bobby pin and I glued it and tied it on, stuck it in my hair. Okay, let's make the pants. I won't be able to give you your exact measurements because we're all different. All our pants are going to be different, but what I'll do is give you mine so that you have reference or something to compare to. So my jeans are a 30-inch inseam, and I want them to be 32 inches. So this is a great way to lengthen or shorten any pants that you have by customizing your own length of ruffle. So I want mine to be 2 inches longer. Okay, the first thing I want to do is cut 11 inches off the bottom. So I will just lay my ruler down, make a little mark, come over here, make a little mark, and do the same over here. And then I will just cut it following those couple little dash lines. Now from this cut up, I'm going to measure 9.25 inches, and I'm going to make little dashes around both sides of the leg on each leg. Now I can set this aside for now. Now we need to make two patterns, very easy to make, very similar, but there is a little bit of a difference here. The reason I need two different patterns is because I will be sewing a ruffle here, which is more narrow, and I will be sewing a ruffle here, or a flare, I should say, that is wider. So my bottom pattern will fit here, and my top, I'm going to call them bottom and top, will fit there. So we're going to make the bottom flare first, and you need to measure this across this way, not around. And on mine, it is 7 inches. So just keep that number in your head or jot it down or something. On both flares, I'll be using a piece of paper that is 13 inches tall and 19 inches across to start my pattern. And on both, we will fold that piece of paper in half. Now this is where that 7-inch measurement comes into play. So what I want to do on the folded side, I want to add 1/2 inch to that 7-inch measurement to give me 7.5 inches. And now I need to divide that number in half, and that gives me 3.75 inches. And so what I'll do is take my ruler on the folded side over, I am going to mark 3.75 inches. And then I will take a yardstick and line that dot up with the very corner and cut it out. And there's my bottom pattern. Now for the top pattern, the top flare, I want to measure where I drew those dashes. And I have 7.5 inches. I want to add 1/2 inch for seam allowance, and that gives me 8 inches. So now I want to take that other rectangle, 13 by 19, fold it in half, and from the fold over, I want to divide that 8 inches in half. That gives me 4 inches. Measure over, make a mark, line that mark up with the corner, and draw a line, and cut it out. So once we have our patterns made, you'll go to the fabric that you want to use to make the flare, and you'll cut out 4 pieces of the top and 4 pieces of the bottom. Here are my bottom pieces, and here are my top. Now, quick little trick, if your piece of fabric that you're using has a finished edge, lay that pattern bottom on that edge. That way you don't have to finish the bottoms of your flare at all. Now we need to sew 2 and 2 together. I will end up with 2 pieces here. This is the bottom. I had 4. I already sewed this one, and it looks, like this. And I already did it to the top as well, but I saved one so that I can show you exactly what I do here. So I am going to do wrong sides together if your fabric has a wrong side, but you can do it right side together. I'm going to have an unfinished seam on the outside. That way the inside's nice and clean. And what I'll do is take this to my machine, and I will start at the top. And I will not pin this or anything. I will stick this in my machine and do a 1/4 inch straight stitch seam allowance right down the side all the way to the bottom. And then I'll come to the opposite side, starting at the top, do the same thing. I'm just going to line my presser foot up with the edge of my fabric, super simple. And I'm using blue thread because I will be dyeing this blue. Now, if the bottom of your triangle lines up, you are better than me because none of mine have. And I am just going to trim it, kind of blend it, and make it work. Now I'm just going to trim a little of that excess seam allowance off. Now I'm going to take that flare and turn it inside out, and just press that seam that we just made. Now I want to pin the top flare on. So I have my flare right side out, and I'm just going to slip it over the pant leg, and I'm going to pin right along that dashed line that I made. Now that I have these all pinned, I'm going to get them sewn on. First, I'm going to remove this little front plate so I can fit my pant leg over that and slide my pant leg in. I'm going to use a zigzag stitch, and I'm lining the presser foot up with the top of my flare piece. Okay, here's what we have so far. Still need to sew the ruffle to the bottom of the pant leg, but I want to show you something what happens. And I learned this years ago, sewing two triangles like that together. You would think it would be perfectly flush around the bottom, right? I did it to a sleeve one time, and it wasn't. It comes out almost like this shape, which is what I want for these pants. So if you want yours perfectly flush, you might have to pleat just like a long rectangle around the pant leg, but I didn't want any pleating. I think that looks cool. Okay, now let's do the bottom of the pant leg. And by the way, I created my top ruffle, or I keep calling it a ruffle. It's a flare. I do so many ruffles, to be above my knee. That might be important for you to know. Okay, so let's do the bottom one. Now I'm going to move this flare up and out of the way. And I will take this one, and I'm kind of lining up these seams here. And I will overlap. I will sew on the outside. So I'm putting the pants inside of there. And I'm overlapping about 1/2 inch. And I am going to pin that on. Now that they're all pinned, I'm going to sew them just like we did the top ruffle, slide it in, and do a zigzag stitch. Here's what they're looking like. How cute! Skinny pants to this shape. All right, now I want to make some big square pockets. So I have no front pockets on mine. That's just a faux pocket. So I'm going to make some. And I'm going to start my pattern with a rectangle that is, sorry about shaking the camera, 8.25 inches tall and 6.25 inches across. And then I am going to take a ruler and mark over 2 inches at the top, and then down from the side I'm going to mark 1 inch. And then I'm going to take a cereal bowl. Mine is 6.25 inches this way. I'm going to line that up with those 2 dots and make a circle or half circle, curve, whatever, like that. And then I'm going to cut that out. Now I'm making my pockets out of scrap white denim from some other jeans. You can use cotton or whatever. So I'm just taking this pattern and I'm tracing out a piece there, and then I have to flip this over. I already did a little stitching on this one. I'll show you that in a second. And trace the other pattern. And now we have to do a curved hem, and I'm going to show you how to do that, but I'm leaving the other edges raw because we'll do some decorative stitching around that. But I want this one nice and clean. Okay, this is how I like to do my curved hems. I like to line this edge up with the side of the presser foot and make just a guideline. And now I'm going to fold this over to where I can just barely see that stitch that I just made. I want to be able to see it because that will guide me, and sew it down. And now this time I'm just staying close to the edge of the edge. And now I'm going to fold it over one more time. And I'm going to start way at the top, even though this doesn't meet the top, because that will be seen from the outside. I want it to be complete. So I'll start right here. And again, I'll just stay close to the edge. And now I'll go give that a press. Now I'm just laying these on my jeans, lining them up as symmetrically as I can, bringing the top towards the waistband. And, you know, even if you have functioning pockets, you should still be able to do this. And I still would too, because I like that look. You just have to make sure your pocket underneath is up and out of the way when you sew. So now I'm just going to get these pinned on. Now that I have these all pinned, I'm going to sew it on. I'll have to unbutton and unzip, slide it in from the top, the machine, and I will go across here with a straight stitch, staying close to the edge, down the side, bottom, up the other side, and of course leaving this open because that's our pocket. Okay, the machine sewing is all done. We'll do some decorative stitching later on, but first I want to go upstairs, put on my paint shirt, and try to make these look kind of like blue jeans. That's my goal. And I made a little top. This was a dress, and I just cropped it. These are high-waisted, so this will hit a little bit below the waist. And I just added a little bit of doily lace at the bottom of it, and I'm going to dye that with this as well. To dye it, I just have a big pot, and I filled it about up to here. You want your garments to be able to move around freely. And I heated it to about 200 degrees. And now I'm going to put a couple teaspoons of Dawn soap in there, any kind of just soap. And I'm going to put a cup of just regular Morton table salt in there. And stir that up. Now I will be using denim blue. And I am just going to start with a teeny bit, and then I will test it with paper towels to see if I like the color. I want these light color. Here's my dye. RIT dye is for natural fabrics, and my pants are 100% cotton, and the tablecloth is linen. So they're all natural. There is RIT dye more. If you have synthetics, okay, I think that's the color I'm going for. So I'm going to put my clothes in there. I got them wet and wrung them out. Now I will leave these in here for about half an hour, maybe a little bit longer if it doesn't seem like it's doing the job. And I will stir frequently. It says constantly, but I don't stand here for a half an hour and stir constantly. Okay, it's been half an hour, and I'm just wringing these out really good. Now I'm going to try Color Stay Fixative, RIT Fixative for natural fabrics for the first time. Will it make a difference? I don't know, but it can't hurt, right? It is supposed to enhance the color, increase color retention, and reduce bleeding. So there's 3 different ways you can do it. You can do it on the stovetop, you can do it in your wash machine, or you can do it, this is the most common way, do it in your sink or in a bucket. I'm doing it in my sink, and I have a stainless steel sink. Otherwise, I would be doing it in a bucket or tub. And so I put a lot of water in my sink on the hottest setting. They like 140 degrees. Now, you're supposed to put half a bottle in for every 1 pound of clothing. So I'm going to pour the whole bottle in and stir it up. And then I'm going to stick my clothes in there and swish it around for 20 minutes. When the 20 minutes is up, I am going to put these, wring them out, put it in my washer on just a rinse and spin, and I'm going to dry mine. I mean, you can line dry yours, of course, if you want to. And then we'll start the decorative stitching. Okay, I've started to do some decorative stitching. And I'm going to dissect this a little bit for you. So I'm starting by putting X's at the bottom of all 4 flares. And I am using a thin yarn so that it shows up better than embroidery thread, and I'm also using a hoop. I'm going to be showing you on this flare, but I want to show you how I'm going to start right here, because I want some extra yarn so that my thought process is to maybe bead this, and so I'm going to start over here with the long fringe. I'm just going to add my hoop. I drew little X's with a Sharpie all the way around the flare. I know that's kind of gutsy. You can use like a sewing water-soluble marking utensil. I'm going to start with a long piece of yarn, and I have a little tail here. I didn't double this. And I made a knot right here so that I had a long tail at the end. And I want my fringe to be about right here. So I'm going to go in from the top on any X, really. Yeah, maybe I'll start at the bottom. And now my tail is knotted right there. And I am just going to follow the pattern of my X's. Oh, quick note here. I made my X's smaller than I actually wanted them. So on here, I extended past the X. I kind of forgot to do it here, but I'll catch up and make it right. So I'm coming above my X. Okay, and so when I get all the way around, I'll leave another long piece and tie it off right here. I just wanted to demonstrate here, when I do run out of yarn going around, and I will, how I'll tie that off is I'll make my last stitch. Now I'm on the underneath side. And I'm going to cut that off about here and thread my needle again. Okay, I have another one threaded, and this time I made a knot about right there. So here's the one we just cut off, and now I'm going to take this, come in from the back, and I can kind of see my next X through there. I'm just putting this needle in to the knot. And now I like to triple tie. I do not want this to come undone after all this work. And I will continue where I left off. Now on the second row, I have my yarn doubled and knotted, and I'm just making sort of a straight line. I will come up from underneath, go in between those two pieces of yarn, go over about 3/4 of an inch, go back in, come back up, now this time, since my yarn, when I come to the end of my yarn, I have to start a new one. This one's doubled, so I am just going to take the two pieces, triple knot it, and cut it off. Okay, I'll show you the stitches I do along the way, but there are so many videos that explain how to do this better than I can. I basically just kind of sketch out some different designs that I want and kind of engineer them on my own, figure out how I want to do them. So we've been working on these X's. We did this. Here's the other bottom where we did the X's, this line. And then I just drew out, you know, some zigzags, embroidered that. Now here's the top flare. Did the X's at the bottom. Did sort of this design. I drew that with my marker as well. And then some little pluses. I still need to finish that on this one. And then at the top of the flare where it meets the jeans, I just did a whip stitch and I left another long tie so that I'm thinking beads. I'm not 100% on that. And then on the sides, I just did a running stitch. And then on the flares, I did sort of a double running stitch on the side seam. And then on the inseam, did that to all 4 flares. And then once I get the flares done, I'm going to figure out what I want to do on the pockets. I tried a whip stitch around here. I didn't like it. It kind of looked like baseball stitching. So I'm thinking I'll do something a little more decorative around here. I'm not sure yet, but I'll keep you updated. Okay. So I finished the whip stitching on the other leg, did some running stitches, and then on the pocket, I did sort of a little diamond design all around, some whip stitching there. On the back, did some X's, some whip stitching, a little starburst there with a little fringe, a bunch of little dashes around the pockets, and just sort of a, first I did the little pluses, and I thought that looked plain, so then I just did some little burst from that and left some fringe. And then I added beads. Okay, so how I do the beads, I'm going to cut that little knot off and take a piece of Scotch tape, set this in the center, fold the tape in half, and now I'm going to take my scissors and cut a sharp point down at the bottom to get through all my beads. Most of my beads are from broken jewelry, necklaces and stuff from the thrift store. And then I'm putting 3 beads on each piece of fringe. And then I'm going to trim that tape off. And I'm going to make a big knot because I don't want these to fall through in the wash. Give it a little check. Yeah, that's good. Okay, and then on to the next. All done. So I am wearing it with a velvet duster. I have a tutorial for that. I'll put the link in my description. I've got a denim fringe bag. It's a tutorial. I'll put the link in my description. I just want to talk about the possibilities of these pants. I could have left them white. I could have done lace flares. I could have gotten wild skinny or like leggings patterned and get some skirts and dresses with coordinating sort of patterns and make them look very 70s. I could even put appliques on them. I could do them in black. You could do this to sleeves. All right, you just do whatever makes you happy, makes you smile. Creativity definitely takes courage, so be brave, but most of all, have fun. I'm going to bring it in a little closer so you can see more of the details, and thank you so much